Hey everyone, welcome again. And in today's video, we are going to learn the most important aspect of programming language. That is, in today's lecture, we are going to learn how we can take user input in Python. All right. Before proceeding forward, just want to discuss a few concepts with you. All right. What is programming? I mentioned in the first video that programming is the way through which we can communicate with the machine, right? But why we are making the program? We are making the program for humans, right? So it should interact with humans, right? So that is the main reason why we should learn how you can take user inputs. So based on the input that is been entered by the user, we can validate it, right? So let's get started with how we can take user input in Python. All right. So let me switch back to VS Code again and let me create another file for it and we will name it as input dot the extension py as Python. Okay, let me close the console as well. Okay, we already learned how to print any message on over the console. So in order to do that, we directly write over here as print and the message enter your name. So this will do nothing, but let me clear the console. Sorry about that. Okay, let me run it once again. Okay, so this will do nothing, just it will just print the statement which we have entered over here into the console, but it won't take any input from the user. How we can take input from the user? By including the by writing input over here. So let's say input whatever value that you want to take from the user, right? So let's say you store the input value of the user to the variable name and then you print the name. All right, let's do it. Okay, so first of all, how does the flow of this particular program will work? First of all, it will ask you to enter your name. Okay, and then we will call input over here. Here you will be writing the name and then we are going to print the name which you entered. Hope you are getting the logic, you are getting the flow of the program. All right, so here we'll again print, but this time we are going to print the name. All right, now execute this program. It is asking me to enter my name. Let me enter hello, and when I press enter, it will print hello over there. Okay, you can do some customizable thing over print input, whatever you like to wish, whatever you like to do over here, right? So let me clear this thing out. Now let's say you want to add to numbers by taking the input from the user. Okay, considering the fact that the number is getting changed every time. That's why I mentioned in the definition of variable that it is getting changed over the time, right? Variables vary over time. Okay, so let's get started with that as well. So let me define one variable named num1, and we are going to take its input and I'm going to type the message as enter number one. Let us check whether it is working or not, and let me print number one. Okay, let me execute this. It is asking me to enter number one. I'll type here 56. It is printing 56 over here. Let me give some space over here. Okay, now it should work fine. Enter number one and it is 56. Works. We are going to execute this same, we are going to write this two lines once again. Why? You will get to know. I'll define one more variable name as num2 and I'll take the input from the user, considering that it is he'll or she'll enter another value every time. So enter number 2 and will print the number that has been entered by the user. Let us see whether it is working or not. It is asking me to enter number 1. I enter 56. It is asking me to enter number 2. I am pressing 45. It printed the values. Now, what if I want to give the addition? print the addition of the numbers which has been entered by the user. So for that thing, we are going to create another variable for it, and I'm going to name it as sum, and I'm going to add it as num1 plus num2. Okay, now you need to focus on the stuff that are going to happen. Okay, you just need to think what are the values that we are expecting, or and what are the stuff that we are getting. Okay, so I'm just going to print sum over here. This time we are going to try it with different values. Enter number one, 10. It printed 10 over the screen. Okay, and then I am entering number 2 as 20, and then see we are getting the value as 10 20 as a sum. Okay, I'll do just one thing. I'll just comment this thing out so that it does not print the number which we have entered over here, right? I'll rerun the program once again. Enter number as 45, enter number 2 as 5, so our expected output should be 50, but it is giving me 455, right? What it is doing, it is just concatenating the stuffs. Okay, that's the reason we are getting this issue. Now, how does a program know whether the number which has been entered over here is what kind of data it is? Here comes the role of data type, right? We are just going to concatenate this stuff. Okay, so I'll do just one thing. I'll just concatenate. I'll just specify the data type of this particular thing, and see to Python that, yeah, the number which you are concatenating is not a string. It is an integer, a numeric value, right? Now, will it solve the issue? Let's execute the program. Enter number one, 56, enter number two, 4, and it solved our issue, and we are getting the expected output as 60. All right. And I hope you have learned how you can take input from the user. Let us try one more program. Okay. This was to print a number, addition of a two number. Now let me do a multi comment over here. Okay. Let us write a program to multiply two numbers, right? So let us take number one, okay, and we are going to take the input as enter number. We are going to take the input as enter A, short and simple. Number two, input value, enter B. Let us understand the flow of the program, okay? See, what it is doing, we are doing just simple stuff. We are just displaying this particular statement over the console and asking the users, hey, please enter number one. Okay, so he's going to enter the value of A. Since it is taking an input, it is getting stored into an variable named number one. It can be 56, 35, 49, 16, 26, okay, anything, because it is a variable, right? I am like repeating this stuff 100 times, right? Variables, the values are getting changed, right? So once the value has been entered over here, it is getting stored into number one first. The same thing is happening with the second thing. Okay, now we are going to declare another variable over here, that is multiply, and then we are going to specify the type of data over here. So it is an integer data type, and it is going to be for number one. And what is the operation that we want to perform? It is multiplication, as obvious, by the name of the variable. And then I will specify the data type of the number two. So here I'll enter number two, and then we'll print the sum. So print multiply. So by executing this particular stuff, our expected output should be, from line 1 it will take an input and store into number 1. From line 2 it will take the value and store it to number 2. And then over line 3, okay, it will do one thing, it will convert, okay, it will just specify that it is the data type of this particular stuff is integer. And then we are going to multiply it and store the value into the multiply variable. and then we are going to print the variable. Okay, let us run this program. See, okay, let me write the value of a as 5. Let me write the value of b as 6, and 6 5s is 30, right? We have successfully written a program by taking the input from user. Okay, let us find the area of circle which we found on the previous video, right? So let me comment this thing out as well. Okay, moving forward. Let me remove this thing as well. Okay, program to find area of circle. Okay, now we won't be importing the math library over here. Okay, we are just going to take the hard coded values. Okay, since we are practicing input over here, that's why we are not importing the math module over here. If you wish, you can definitely go for it. Okay, so what are the values which we'll be needing in order to print the area of circle? First, the value of pi. Let us write pi over here. Control Z. Okay, pi. Second, what is the value that we'll be needing? It is the radius, right? That's it. That's it. Okay. So we have already written pi over here. So what is the first thing that we are going to do? We are going to ask the user. So please enter the value of pi. So I'll write input. So hey user, please enter the value of pi. So my statement would be enter the value of pi, and then when this statement is going to execute, it will store the value entered by the user into the variable pi. Now we are going to ask the user for the radius, the value of radius, right? So here we'll be asking the value for, please enter the value of radius. Okay, and the user will enter the value of radius. Now we are going to plot our formula over here. What is the formula? The formula is pi r square. So pi into radius, right? Now we are going to store this value into a particular variable. So I'm defining area over here. Okay, moving forward. Now, since we know that the user is going to enter a decimal value, we already know in order to like there is a data type specifically for the decimal value variables, right? So it is known as float, right? So we are just going to specify that it is a float value, float, all right? And we are just going to store the value of pi over here, right? Same goes for radius as well. So we are just going to write do this thing, enter. By the way, this is known as typecasting. The thing that we are doing right now, it is known as typecasting. We are just specifying, we are just converting string into float value, right? Let me complete this thing and I'll explain you the flow of the program. Okay, so what is the flow of program? The first line will do just one thing. It will be like taking the input from the user and it will store the value into pi, and then it will take the value of radius and store it into the radius. Then we defined we plotted our formula over here, okay, and we have written the formula which is pi r square, and then we typecasted it from string to float, okay. However, in this case what we were doing, we were changing the string value into integer, right? Why we did that? Because it was just concatenating the values, okay. If I would have not specified this particular stuff, it would have just summed up the number. Let's say if we take the example of this particular code, okay. So what was happening over here, if I remove integer from here, what would have happened? It would have taken the input of number 1, number 2, and then when I entered, let's say the value 56 and number 2 as 4, then it would have printed 564. But then we specified the data type. it is integer, right? And then we specified that, hey, number one is integer, number two is integer. Then what was the expected output? It is 56 plus 4. Then it printed 60 over there. The same thing we are going to do over here. Okay, we defined pi and take the input from the user. We defined radius, we took the input from the radius. We plotted the formula over here, and then we are going to print the area over here. So let's write print statement over here, and we are going to print the area. All right, and we can do it like this way as well. The area is, let us execute this thing. Okay, enter the value of pi, it is 3.142. Enter the value of radius, it is going to be 4. See, it is giving me one error, type error, only concatenate string. Why? Because we are just storing the value of float and float into a string. It is considering this thing as string, as a float value, right? So do just one thing, remove this particular stuff from here. We'll come into that particular stuff later, right? For now, we are just concerned with the output. Let us execute this thing. Enter the value of pi, it is going to be 3.142. We are using the same value which we used on the previous video, just to get the actual value which we had in the previous video, right? So now enter radius as 4. We are getting the same value, that is 50.272, right? You can do this thing as well. Print the area is. Now execute the same statement once again. 12. One second. Yeah. So it is going to be 3.142. Enter, the radius is 4 and the area is 50.272. All right. So I hope that you learned about taking input. It is a very crucial part in programming, okay? Not in Python, but in every programming language. And I think you will be practicing all of the stuff. If you are facing any issue, the first thing that you are suggested to do is just open Chrome browser. Okay, you are getting error, right? You will face the error definitely for sure. Okay, so what my suggestion to you is just execute the program once. Okay, let me do a typo over here. Let me write s over here and run here. Okay, what the first thing that we'll be getting is just execute it once. 4. See, what are the issues that we are getting over here? It is defining one thing, that is trace back error, and then it is highlighting. See, it is defining that area and then the value of pi, and then it is displaying that could not convert string to float, right? You gone to this particular line, you are traversing the line from left to right, and you are checking what might be the issue. So you have checked that this is correct, it is converting the string into float. We have done typecasting, this is good, this is good as well, this is good as well. Okay, then the next step should be check for the lower line and the upper line near to the line which has been displayed into the console. So my next step would be I'll check the lower line, and then I'll traverse from left to right, and then I found I have done one typo over here. Okay, then I'll do just one thing, I'll just remove s from here and then rerun the program once again. I'll do one thing, 45, and then enter 4. See, now my programming is getting executed. However, it is printing the wrong value. Why? Because user had entered the incorrect value. How we can validate that thing? We'll cover it in the section where we'll be studying about loops. Okay. However, your concern should be with the errors, and you should be able to resolve that particular thing. And how you are supposed to do that, I have already helped you out with that methodology. All right. I hope you have learned about how to take input from Python, from the console, from the user. All right. If you're facing any issue, just go and Google the things. You'll definitely find some fruitful resource over there. If not, you can just paste the error message that you are getting along with the code, and I'll be able to help you out with that. All right. Thank you and have a wonderful day. Bye bye.